be worthwhile just showing you what you're actually controlling to start with. So you guys know what you're physically doing when you start pressing buttons.
Yep.
You might have a bit more empathy for the gear, you know. Mirrors 1 to 4 are above ground from the focal point of the reflector. M5 has 4 set positions, but it just rotates 360. You can stop it anywhere if you really want to. Position A is about the only position the DSN is actively using anywhere, with the exception of this experimental antenna in Goldstone. They've got packages everywhere, but none of the shroud exists either. You walk in and it's just stuff everywhere. We do use the radio astronomy from time to time. There's nothing fitted at the moment, but...
So they come and fit like an instrument here and then you rotate the main mirror?
That's right, that's B. C will never be used, and it's very unlikely D will ever be used because the mezzanine's in the way.
Ability to install if you wanted to. Or,
yeah, the original design was all the feeds were going to go at different focal points, but they realised pretty quickly that it made a lot more sense just to pile them all up at A. Yep. It does create the additional complexity of the feed mirror system, M6 and 7. So you've got the ability to drive M6 and 7 mirrors in and out, and now that each has 2 distinct mirrors, you also need the hook and toe system they developed, which basically gets the primary mirror to tow or push the A mirror. So yeah, when you're typing in A and such, that's the A's on the left-hand side. The primaries, the M6 and M7 are stacked in that. And there it's both M6 and M7 at the moment, if you look, are in the in place.
Yeah. So that's the latching mechanism there, is it, Paul?
That's the latching mechanism out in free space at the moment. At the moment you can tell it's unlatched. Now that spacing is actually critical and is somewhat the Achilles heel of the whole system. So anybody who comes in here when it's shut down like this has to take care not to touch anything. Everything's on slides. You can actually move things quite easy. Only the primary side is on a screw jack. The secondary side you can push with your little pinky. So the problem is if you knock it out of alignment, the hook system won't find its captive, and it'll try and grab it and sort of flail about like an upside down turtle.
So you can see the... So that's a different system, isn't it? One's the milled holes.
Yes.
Is that just quartz or something?
The primary is the alloy milled plate. I believe that's the plastic fantastic you're looking at there, Richard.
Wow.
That's really cool.
It's
I
probably,
didn't realise you had that.
it's probably a harsh term, but you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Fact
So
is,
that'll be the K-band pass through.
I believe it's rated to 20 kilowatts.
Yep.
I don't believe it's rated to 80. I believe it overheats.
Okay.
But I think they're working on that solution.
Yeah, so the one on the left will reflect S-band past K-band.
Yes, so 6 is in position if you want to uplink S, which is the large feed,
Oh, it's an S-band feed hole.
and then the other feeds are stacked behind it with wee little K-band right up the back, which is, I guess, in a sense, M8. It's just fixed. Bit like the B position mirror here behind you.
So you're saying the K-band ones that square on the right back there?
Yes, that's 6, 7, 8. Yep. Yep.
I'll grab that photos from that as well. Thank you, sir.
So the first difference you'll notice with this system, and soon to be 34, is you haven't got the local control panel over in the rack, which is the General Dynamics unit. You still have the antenna control unit in the rack. The other thing you don't have is you no longer have a key switch for the feed mirror. You've only got a key switch for antenna subreflector. The quote key switch for the feed mirror is now this little button. So we're currently in local mode. Now you're back with APCO. Just a little word of warning, those switches actually toggle. So if I just keep punching the remote, it actually goes back and forwards.
Oh, that's pretty stupid.
I didn't design it, no comment.
That has to be done from here.
Sorry?
That has to be done from here.
Yes, and that was deliberate. There was originally an ability to overtake that, but we insisted they remove it because it's not strictly speaking a safety issue. You should be locked out if you're going inside doing work. There's lockout boxes here. Yeah, so basically at the moment you've got M7 in place, M7A is in stow, unlatched, M6A is in place, and you'll generally see that when that's the case, that'll always be latched. There is no condition where M6 should be stowed and M6A is in place with that unlatched. That will stay latched now until M6A goes back to stow.
That's not a very good pictorial way of representing it, is it? So it's,
JPL will accept your compliments and brickbats. No comment? It is what it is. And you've got M5 here with your 4 distinct positions. And depending on your eyes, the actual angle positions down in the middle. You've got all your statuses here, including your microwave status, which can be of use if you're having a problem with the mirror's working, but the microwave's arguing with me, what's going on. You'll probably see an active fault in that situation. It'll come down here yellow or orange.
Madrid was seeing an active fault there with M6.
You will often see an active fault in progress, but you've got to wait till the events are finished, then the active faults are valid, if that makes sense. The active faults aren't always as filtered out the way I think they maybe should be during the event. For instance, when I just latched and unlatched M7 while you guys were watching, I had an M7A fault. There was no fault, but during that latching operation, the software sees an issue and it flags it. It's self-cleared. You can also acknowledge your faults here. So if the fault is clearable, you can clear it here. This whole thing only works when you're in local mode, which is why there's a warning there that you shouldn't just start playing with it, because you may actually accidentally do something you don't want to do. The other issue is if you physically know you've bumped one of the mirrors, including M5 somehow, you should really come in here and check that it's all green, because you only have to be a tiny little bit out, and when you go back to APCA mode, it'll be cranky with you. So basically, this is the M6 strip. There's overrides. The only reason they would ever get used is if we go into a final limit, which is a sort of a 1-800 help. The terminology used on this screen is stow and in being in place, stow being stowed. But depending on, I think in the APCA commands it's out. So you've sort of got to do some translation on the fly sometimes. But at the moment we're totally nominal, everything's hunky-dory. You've got beam volt status. The way the feed mirror and the beam and the microwave system works is a double-ended latch. So either end can latch the other partner out. So while this is doing something, we latch microwave out. But if microwave's doing something, it latches us out. The common thing on the 70 metre is people are a bit, stoking up the transmitter and then try and move the antenna or move the subreflector. And the subreflector won't rotate because it's like, well, you're using the microwave.
Or the dichroic.
So you've just got to watch your order of operations. The scripts never do that, do they, Terry?
They do. If you want to
So basically, someone wants to have a play. If you just press in on M6,
Sure.
which is the one that actually it grays text out that's not currently able. And yeah, the feedback isn't great. There's no beep. There's no acknowledgement that it even saw your touch. You've just got to watch.
So, how would you know which one you were doing, the M6 or M6A?
At the moment, because it's latched, doing both.
Okay. Of course, because M6A is purely a passive mirror.
M6A has no drive system, just like M7A. It's the caravan behind the car.
Yeah.
With no car, the caravan's not going anywhere.
So you don't even know what direction it's moving in, do you? So.
Well, it only has the one option.
Yeah, I mean, we know that after just looking at it, but you wouldn't be able to get an indication of how it's moving.
it other than the fact it gives you a text indication that it's moving, it will show you the last confirmed position graphically. So M6A is in place. The fact it's moving tells you that it's heading to stow.
Okay.
The fact it's latched tells you M6 is moving in place. Once it reaches its destination, that will just all move across.
Okay. So looking at this display here then, obviously this is only for M6. M6A is a passive.
Yes.
So you've got either stow, oh, there you go, it's just flipped across there.
Yep.
So the three positions, okay, so it is represented by the three positions.
Yeah, so basically now your in button is greyed out because you're in. Your stow button is now available. Because this is all referencing the driving mirror, which is 6 and 7. 7A and 6A are passive.
Yeah. And it's funny, until that all moved across by one, I didn't realise it was the three positions.
Now, when you guys enter the text at APCA and you configure the mirrors to where you want them, the APCA then works out whether or not that needs to be latched, and it'll issue the appropriate unlatch command. But by default, even though I've moved it back into that position, it will stay latched.
And what's a pain is it's 180 degrees out as well, as far as position. M6A, if you were looking at three positions, M6A would have been there.
No comment.
So,
yes.
Okay.
Hey, it worked in the lab.
So it's all currently stops, finished moving.
Yes, it's all green.
Okay, so with Madrid having the issue, M6, actually I think we were going to JWST, so M6A would have had to have been in place, but it wasn't making it. So they would have had to have homed M6.
It depends what the actual fault was. I mean, the fault could have been a lack of latching ability.
Yeah.
The latching simply may not have been aligning properly. So if that alignment is out, if M6A is not in the right position, when it tries to latch, there's nothing to grab hold of. 6 is not there. And if it misses it,
so how would you hone?
Basically, you can't hone the A's. All you can do is hone the primaries. So you would simply say hone M6. It would go all the way into stow, which is its 0 point reference.
So all you can do is move it. So there is no home like the drive home button on 35.
It's a self-homing function.
Okay.
Basically, once it gets in home, that's 0. And that essentially sets the starting position. Okay. Then when you say in place, it'll go back.
So if you do an M6 stow, it will automatically home?
Yes.
It will unlatch, so M6 home, you hit the home, and then it unlatch itself and then move itself across.
If I just basically told it to stow at the moment, it would drag M6A across again.
Oh, so you have to unlatch it
I
first.
actually have to unlatch it. So that little button there.
And that should clear.
The other thing you've got to watch, which I forgot about, is the parallax error between
the buttons.
Sometimes you think you've touched one button, you actually touch the other one.
I was just about to say, it looked like you pressed stow there.
Okay. So
but it has unlatched.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
We have even tried styluses, but they don't work very well.
So what Madrid did, they would have just hit a stow, dragged M6 out, and then so essentially did the whole thing again, where moved M6 in place, latched it, and then did a stow.
It's basically all you can do beyond that is drive M6 to stow, drive it back to in place, attempt to latch, If that still doesn't work, someone needs to physically go and have a look at what's going on. And it's a question whether you'd call support at that point, get them to go take a look, because the chances are something's up with the latching mechanism.
I've had a grid network issues where it just won't move from the remote control from the app map. It'll say moving but doesn't do anything.
Just times out?
And then they go out there and they just do it manually and it works fine. So,
Yeah. Well, when we had a series of those problems, it turned out to be the limit switches. The local control, is somewhat clunky as it is a lot more forgiving than APCA.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of delays in comms as well, which doesn't help. Plus APCA's trying to do 100 other things.
Okay, that's great.
Is that where you actually wanted them? Just as a matter of interest?
Oh, God, I don't know what the next support is.
If you know what the next support is, you can configure it all manually.
So eventually I assume 33 will have the same system.
When 33 gets built,
Yeah.
your guess is as good as mine, but I'm guessing it'll have this, yes.
Depending on who the next vendor is.
I have heard that the next generation of this system will have bigger screens, simply because these are obsolete.